The Central Economic Work Conference this week is one of the most significant government meetings of the year. It sets the economic agenda for the year ahead, as well as priorities, strategies, and targets. Now, a lot of these firm targets, numeric targets, are things that we won't find out because they won't be announced until they've been approved at the National Two Sessions in March. But there are a couple of key announcements to come out of the meeting. First, the government is stepping up efforts to boost consumption. It's going to do this via a number of methods. Firstly, the national private pension system is going to be expanded nationwide. There's going to be an increase in the budget deficit in 2025. And central and local governments are going to step up the issuing of more debt. The government is also doubling down on expanding its new quality productive forces in science and technology. To dig a bit deeper into the Central Economic Work Conference this week, let's talk to Shuang, the Chief China Economist at Standard Chartered Bank. Shuang, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
The Central Economic Work Conference echoed a lot of what we've heard out of the Politburo meeting earlier in the week, particularly in reference to boosting consumption and maintaining steady economic growth. Would you say this has been well received?
Yes, I would say the Politburo meeting, the message sent from the Politburo meeting beat the expectation by proposing more proactive macro policies and including a shift of the monetary policy stance from prudent to appropriately loose stance. So that gives the market a lot of room for imagination, and also including a more proactive fiscal policy, as well as stabilization of the housing and the stock market. So that's why I think the market responded very positively. And of course, the market will pay a close attention to some of the numeric targets potentially set during the Central Economic Work Conference, but only be made public in March, when the National People's Congress is going to convene.
Going into this conference, the data seem to suggest that China's economic recovery is underway, but that more steps still need to be taken to consolidate it. Are we seeing those steps?
Yes, indeed. Both the soft data, including the manufacturing PMI, and the hard data, for example, the industrial production and retail sales, suggest that we may see a rebound of the economy in the fourth quarter. And the Politburo sounds very confident that the growth target of 2024 will be achieved. That being said, we continue to see quite weak domestic demand, and the economy benefited a lot from foreign trade this year, with exports outperforming imports. We estimate that about 20% of the 2024 growth comes from contribution of net exports. President-elect Trump has already announced 10% new tariff on China even before he's inaugurated. And during the campaign, he promised 60% of tariff on China. In the meantime, both chambers of U.S. Congress have submitted bills to revoke China's permanent normal trade relationship status, which opened door for more and higher tariff on China. So seems that what is certain is there will be an increase of tariff on China from the U.S. What is uncertain is the extent and the timing.
Is China in a good position to deal with the possibility of growing trade friction with the United States? We've already seen it in the last few days of the Biden administration, and there are signs that there could be more coming with the second Trump administration taking office in just a few weeks' time.
So that is why we see higher tariff, the risk of trade war is the biggest risk for China's economy for 2025. But in the meantime, I would say China appears to be better prepared this time around. On the one hand, the government is likely to introduce a more expansionary policy to boost the domestic demand to offset the high tariff. Even though we may not know the growth target from the Central Economic Work Conference, my expectation is the government may keep the growth target at around 5%, and in the meantime, aim for a reasonably higher price level. This is an ambitious target, but also necessary for at least two reasons. The first is even as China's economy recovers, the economic activity is still below the potential level, which create the deflation pressure. If we look at China's CPI, it is just slightly above zero, and the PPI has been in deflation for quite a while. An ambitious growth target is necessary and helpful to change the deflationary mindset. The second reason is, I think the experience early this year, especially in September, suggests that growth significantly below 5% could deteriorate the labor market conditions with the social stability implications. So that is why on the policy side, we think the government is better prepared, and the fiscal deficit is likely to be widened for next year, and more central and local special bond issuance is likely to be planned. On the other hand, China's corporate sector has been diversifying the trade and investment globally, and their reliance on the US market has declined. Today, Chinese goods and services appears to be embedded in the global supply chain. So as long as the US continue to run a trade deficit and continue to import from the rest of the world, goods produced in China or goods with Chinese content produced elsewhere will most likely find their way into the US market.
Shuang, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.